What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest chapter review for Jujustu Kaisen 157. Let's get underway because there's at least 2 points I want to, realistically 3 points I want to talk about, but like the main two is actually one of them. Let's just get it out of the way. Very beginning of the chapter. We all know that Kilala was subdued by Fushiguro, right? Megumi down on the ground, Kilala, you're done, sort of idea, and starts talking about the way the technique works. We get a little more in-depth stuff about how exactly, like, the structure of it works exactly. But then, all of a sudden, this is a key moment. This is a great moment for Fushiguro, because from position of strength, ends up going into a bowing position for a position of weakness, because it's like, I say a position of weakness, but that is what gets Kilala to trust Fushiguro. This was a great tactical move. This was superb. This was the smart idea. Instead of like holding you down like, all right, you're going to listen to everything I have to say. It's like, no, listen, I won the battle, but now I'm going to release you, and please, I just want you to listen. This makes Kilala hesitate. And then all of a sudden she just says, all right, we still don't get a pronoun for her. Still going to go with a she for now. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, this is actually a really good moment for Fushiguro as a character, because we got this a few chapters ago when he was talking all about, like, we don't want to scare Hikari off. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. Fushiguro, Megumi is a thinker. Megumi is a tactful, like, strategizer. He is not one to just beat around the bush unnecessarily. He is there to subjectively go across every avenue, across every angle, and decide the best course of action to get what they want. Sometimes brute strength works, sometimes it does not. And Fushiguro knows that in this particular instance, this is going to win him, and it does end up paying off by the end of the chapter. So, the second thing is that after all this goes down, of course, we see Hikari and Yuji. Now, Hikari has beaten Yuji through the door, so all that trying to get to the door thing was futile at the end of the day, because now Hikari's walking out, wife beater, tracksuit jeans and big boots, and just walking out like, bam, all right, let's get this on. All right, let's do this. I'm going to beat the ever-loving shit out of you, boy. That's the attitude walking down Main Street right now. So Yuji, of course, standing his ground, because we already knew about his toughness back in the beginning of the series and stuff. So he managed to have some toughness. Now, Hikari says, you're underestimating me. Completely clotheslines the guy, completely like in the weirdest way. He punches him like this. Like, it's not a face palm. It's not a knuckle this. It's literally a closed fist, boom, with the angle here. Like, it's the weirdest punch I've ever seen. But it smashes Yuji in the face, sends him flying, and he ends up getting right back up. Now, this is where Hikari, is acknowledging a few things, but also is like, that's not going to get you anywhere. Yuji recognizes that he doesn't want to dodge. He won't fight back. At the end of the day, he needs to get approval from Hikari. He needs to show him that he's got the guts to stand his ground, so he'll finally listen to him. And this is where Hikari says, I will listen to what you have to say, as long as you stay standing. And then we see the aura and the boom. All right, let's crack it up. Let's freaking go. And this is where Kilala says that the kids want your help. Don't worry about it. Like, we listen to what they have to say. Seriously, we've already come to an agreement. Like, Hikari, Kin-chan, please, listen. And he says, I said I would listen. And then he does the power move and says, but why me? This is the first time we met. Why did he come to me? Who told you about me? Why are you here? And Yuji gives a very bad response, saying, my upperclassman told me so. And he says, wrong answer, uppercut, boom, sends Yuji flying once again. Hakari, a boss, completely a boss. Now, we're going to be introduced to this thing called fever, and this is the second thing I wanted to talk about. Well, sort of, like there's 2 and 3 sort of intermingle. One is Hakari's character, and the other one is this whole fever thing. So, regardless of the force behind each blow, they're painful in quotations. Like, so it doesn't, like, in the end of the day, Hakari is using a curse technique. We're not 100% sure. We knew about the doors, and everybody was worried about the door thing. I don't know if that was Kalala's, like, emergency technique sort of thing happening there. And this is Hakari's full power. Apparently he gets into a fever. There's a lot to discuss, but at the end of the day, Yuji is getting his absolute ass kicked. And Hakari calls him out on it and says, like, when one dude, doesn't matter if you're a sorcerer or not, but if one guy asks another guy for a favor, it's basically like, put your life in my hands. Now, you are basically saying, like, you came here because you were told to. That's not a good enough reason for me. It shouldn't be a good enough reason for you. Like, he's actually mad at Yuji's choice of a reason. You know? So, I honestly respect Hakari for this, because literally Yuji is totally wrong in this statement. He is in the wrong. He came here because others told him. Not because he thought it was the right thing to do, not because he thought it was the only way out, not because of any other reason. It's because somebody else told him to do it, and he, like a good dog, went and played fetch. And Hakari's calling him out on it. Realistically, that is what happened. Like, let's call a spade a spade. That is literally what has happened. That is what is happening, and that's what happened. So, but Yuji counters this with being a cog in the grand machine. Now, Hakari does not like the idea of being a cog in a grand machine. It's like, you're trying to play word games with me, and that's not going to work. Are you serious? That is so goddamn boring. And he's just like, no, that's not what it is. So Hakari smacks him down another time, and all the onlookers, we got Panda, we got Kalala, we got Fushiguro, they're all looking on going, holy shit, he's getting his absolute ass kicked. And then when after he's pushed him away, Hakari mentions something about his cursed energy being weird. We don't know if this is an indication of something else going on with this fever thing. But then he starts to leave, but then all of a sudden, Itadori is right behind him, like zoom, like a Dragon Ball Z character. And Hakari jumps back and is like, all right, ready for the battle. And goes, he took 3 hits, and apparently these 3 hits were significant compared to his beatdown earlier. So, meaning what Yuta was saying about him getting on a roll. Hakari seems to acknowledge when he is on a roll, so to speak. So, and this might relate to the fever idea. So, so Yuji does some analogy about talking about being a cog and all that stuff, and it realistically, I'm still with Hakari on this. It's supposed to be meaningful that Yuji comes up. It's like, I'm a cog, but senpai, what are you in the grand machine? Sort of idea. Akari's whole thing is that being a cog is some weak sauce mentality. That's some bullshit mentality. That's a bad attitude. That's a follower, not a leader. That's a sheep mentality. And he's not wrong. Yuji's playing this off as though it's a good thing. Hakari is going to go along with it or going to hear them out anyways, but I hope Hakari doesn't fall for this shit because he's not wrong. As far as I'm concerned, Hakari's in the right. It's like, you are a cog. That's not a good thing. You are a sheep. That's not a good thing. Like, either way, you did what others told you to do. You're a lapdog, you're a cog, you're a sheep. Not a good... It's boring and it's stupid and think for yourself for a change sort of idea. Hakari's mentality is 110% in the direction that I figure everything should be. You know what I mean? So, but at the same point, Hakari is stunned by the fire in the eyes of Yuji. Of course, the fire in the eyes of the main character. Very classic, very shonen, very very tropey, very one-dimensional. So sort of ends the chapter on a lackluster approach, realistically. But then Kalala says, "Aren't you getting a little too heated?" And Hakari acknowledges that he can't lie to his fever, and he talked about the fever of Hakari's eyes, or Yuji's eyes. So. The fever is like the fire, something that Yuta sort of alluded to. It's like when he gets on a roll, when he gets heated, when he's on, that kind of idea. So this is basically the end of the chapter. They're going to talk about this. We're going to figure it out. But apparently Hakari was at his best when he was helping the people at the high school. Even though they didn't like the higher-ups, at the end of the day, his best years, his best time was being surrounded by people at the school. So... that's where the chapter ends on a positive note. We're going to probably get some discussion stuff later on. Apparently Itadori's fever has awakened Hakari, has moved him, has made him become a better person. But once again, I acknowledge that that's some one-dimensional bullshit, and also Hakari's mentality is not wrong, Itadori's is wrong. And if they try to play this off, I'm hoping the next chapter, Hakari will still say, your cog analogy, while it moved me for a second, at the end of the day, is weak sauce. It's weak as fuck. And I'm hoping he brings that up because, realistically, not a good analogy. Especially if you're Hakari. Especially if you're trying to live outside the grid. Like off-grid, outside the system, break the system. You don't believe in the cogs of the system. So, the cog of the system, like, analogy or storyline... Hakari should be smacking that shit down right away, which he does, but I hope he's not moved by this one-dimensional bullshit. Realistically, like the chapter is portraying it that way. I hope we get better answers in chapter 158. I hope we see Hakari still stay true to form and say, Yuji, you're a naive little brat. Like, basically, like I don't think necessarily Yuji's a naive little brat, but I think Hakari should say that to him, should tell him, you're naive, you're young, you're dumb, none of this is your fault, but stop being a follower, stop being a sheep. I'm hoping that Hakari still keeps his own mentality, his own headspace, his own characterization, going against the grain, so to speak, because I really like Hakari so far, and I just really hope that the rest of his arc is not moved by this one chapter. Otherwise, this chapter did Hakari dirty, if that's the case. But what do you guys think? Seriously, what do you guys think of the chapter? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to drink responsibly as always, as I always... Yep, apparently I'm drinking more responsibly than ever than I always do. And we will see you guys back here next time for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 158. Looking forward to it, ladies and gentlemen. See you back here next time. Griever signing out. Later, everybody.